Match each inequality below with its equivalent interval notation. So we want to be able to match all of these with each one of these inequalities. So let's go ahead and just graph these so that we know here. So the first one says x is less than -9. So what we would do is, if we would have our number line, okay, so we're going to create our number line. We have 0, okay. We know this is going from -infinity to +infinity. And so now what we want to do is we want to graph where -9 is located. So let's say here is -9, and it's pointing to the left. So because this doesn't have an equal sign, it's going to go parentheses and then go towards that -infinity. So the interval notation is going to go from -infinity to, -9 with a parenthesis. Okay, let's do the same thing with number 2. So for number 2, again, we know it's going towards -infinity on the left, +infinity on the right, and now this is +9. So at +9, this is saying x is less than or equal to 9. So we're going to have a bracket. And it's going towards -infinity. So therefore, the interval notation is going to be parentheses -infinity, 9 with a bracket. Okay, next, we want to graph number 3 here. So again, here's -infinity, here's +infinity. I'm going to put a 0 in the middle. So we know that we have -6, and then we have, it's not negative, yeah, +9. Okay, so what it's saying here is that x is in between these two numbers. Okay, but you can see here it says x is greater than -6, so that means we're only including a parenthesis here, and it's less than or equal to 9, so therefore it's going to include everything in the middle. So this interval notation is parentheses -6, 9 with a bracket. Okay, next, over here. Okay, so this is going from -infinity to +infinity when we look at the number line. Okay, now the question is asking, what numbers can I pick for x that when I plug it in and square it, is it going to be greater than or equal to 0? Well, any number I can pick. So if I pick a negative value and I square it, it's going to make it positive. If I pick 0, it's going to make it equal to 0. And if I pick a positive number, it's still going to be greater than. So that means that this is all real numbers. So I'm graphing this entire thing. And so the interval notation is going to go from -infinity to +infinity. Next, we have x, which is greater than or equal to -9. Okay, so let's go ahead and find -9 on our number line. It's saying that it's greater than or equal to, so we're going to have a bracket because it's equal to, and it's going towards the right because it's greater than. So the interval notation is bracket -9, +infinity for the interval notation. Okay, let's take a look at number 6. So again, we have 0 going from -infinity to +infinity. Okay, now we can rewrite this in a different way. Okay, if we write x on the left and then 9 on the right, where does the arrow point? Well, it's pointing towards the 9. So technically it's saying that x is greater than or equal to +9. So that means here, if we put 9, we have a bracket and it's going towards +infinity. So therefore this is bracket 9, +infinity with a parenthesis. Okay. Okay, now next, we are given the graphs, and we want to figure out what is the interval notation. Well, if you take a look here, we have a bracket at -6, and it's going to +9. So therefore, this is bracket -6, comma, 9 with a parenthesis. If we take a look at 8, you can see it's starting at 0 and going to 6, and they're both parentheses. So therefore, this is 0, comma, 6. Okay, over here for 9, it's going from -infinity to -6. So that means we have one interval that goes from -infinity, comma, -6. And then nothing in the middle, and then it starts at 9 and it goes towards +infinity. So therefore we have two intervals. This is 9 to +infinity, and then we connect it with a union symbol. So that means union because you're including both of them. Okay. And then the last one here, for number 10, it's going to go at -infinity, comma, -9, and it has a bracket, so therefore you're including the 9. So let's go ahead and then answer our questions. All right, so the first one is parentheses infinity. So let's go ahead and match this. So the first one we know is parentheses -infinity to parentheses -9. That's the first one. Okay, the next one goes from parentheses infinity to +9 with a bracket. Actually, -infinity. So it's going to -infinity to +9 with a bracket. Okay, and then this one's in between, -6 with a parenthesis, 9 with a bracket. This is all real numbers, so this is infinity to -infinity to +infinity. Number 5, we have a bracket at -9 going towards +infinity. Here we have x is greater than or equal to 9, so that is bracket 9, +infinity. And then 7, we know it's bracket -6 to parentheses +9. Okay, and then this is 0 and 6 with parentheses. And then 9 has the union, so it goes from -infinity to -6, union 9, +infinity. And then the last one, you can see here, it goes from -infinity to -9 with a bracket. And let's check our result. And there is our answer.